In the spirit of Halloween, paranormal or not, what is the scariest, creepiest or most unsettling experience of your life? Late to the party, but here goes. This was in the late 90s in India, during the monsoon. It had been drizzling the entire day and a brisk downpour during the eve had basically emptied the streets of any people. I was heading home with my girlfriend, and apart from a stray dog here and then, we were the only two people out. Out of nowhere, she clutched my hand and pointed to a cluster of trees, screwing up my eyes because of the drizzle which had formed a mist by now. I could see an unnaturally tall woman walk at a brisk pace toward us. She would have been 20 or so feet from us, and I could see even from that distance that she wasn't human. Her arms were far too thin, her skin shone. I know this might have been the light reflecting off of her wet skin, but it was a relatively dark night. Her nose was too crooked, and as she reduced the distance between us, I could see that she had an expression of the utmost disdain on her face, and her eyes narrowed at us in malevolence. We were rooted to the spot, my girlfriend hyperventilating, when she suddenly vanished. The woman, not my girlfriend, as a car rounded the corner behind her and honked. We blinked at the dazzling brightness and asked if he saw a woman pass him. He replied in the negative, and we went home perplexed. Later we would learn that one of the homes was purported to be haunted. The lady of the house was supposedly practicing witchcraft or black magic as it is known in India. We never saw her again though, and although not very terrifying, it remains one of the creepiest things I experienced. When I was young, my sister and I got home from school before our mom did. We also had hamsters. One day, we had been home for a while, our grandma had called to check on us, and we were doing homework in the living. We heard a faint voice coming from the sunroom. We were rather confused, so we walked towards the room. Then we heard it again, a tiny voice calling our names. We went into the room, and from the hamster cage we heard Jericho 85, "Sister, are you there? Come back." We freaked out because we had forgotten to feed the hamster. Later, our mom got home, and she called her mom, who said we had put the phone down for some reason and walked away. She stayed on the line calling us for a while before hanging up, and that's what we heard. Ooh. One I can answer. For context, when I was 9 or 10 I slept on the top bunk of a bunk bed with my brother on the bottom bunk. I woke up at like 8 AM with my brother still asleep and sunlight streaming through the windows. I looked off of my bunk, and in front of our rocking chair I saw my mom. She is still alive, so I thought nothing of it. She had a pose where she was smiling and holding up her hand in a wave. I said good morning, but she didn't respond and kept the same pose. For some reason I started feeling really scared, so I hid under the covers. When I poked my head up, she wasn't there. I went timidly down the hall to my parents' room, and she was still asleep. TLDR, I thought I saw my mom, might have saw a ghost. I've also had my name said, and after responding, seeing no one was there. A few days ago was working on my lab file. I used the eraser to erase something, then put it right there on the table. A few minutes later when I look for it again, it's gone. Vanished into thin air. I spent the next hour searching for it, first in the room then the whole house. Couldn't find it. It still hasn't turned up in daily cleanings of the house. Spooked me out, to be honest. 1/3 this happened just a few years ago, 26 yo. I consider myself pretty logical when it comes to things seeming paranormal, and am able to chalk most strange occurrences up to just a fluke. Me and 3 friends rented an early 1900s house for a summer. We did our initial walkthrough of the house. We went to the creepy unfinished basement to check it out. Like really pretty creepy. There was a small crawl space that had a maybe 2x2 FT access door. Opened it up and there was a dirt floor with a blanket, wood chips, and a water dish. Creepy in appearance, but we concluded that the previous tenant prop had a cat with kittens or something. We did happen to notice an old rotary dial phone neatly sitting on the floor next to the furnace and commented on it being such a relic. The first night in the house I was awoken to a phone ringing at 2 AM for what seemed like 5 minutes straight. It sounded like the default ringtone on an iPhone. I remember yelling at the unknown culprit to answer your damn phone from my bedroom, and it abruptly stopped. The next morning we all woke up slightly agitated at someone's phone ringing in the middle of the night. Neither of us claimed it to be our phone and checked all of them for missed calls or alarms accidentally set for that hour. Nothing. Bewildered, I made a joke that it was probably the old phone in the creepy basement. Out of curiosity we went to check, only to find the handset and cord stretched out halfway across the basement floor and the phone off the hook. We all were a bit weirded out and looked to see if the phone was even connected to the phone line. It was. We followed the cord up the wall to the floor joists and then found it coming out of the floor in the upstairs hallway and continued up to the attic that had no access points except for a really eerie window that looked out over the backyard. This was just the start with this house. One time I was out walking with my grandparents and my cousin, and we saw a path that led off of the regular one. It was only a dirt trail that seemed to be used by bikers to quickly get to another place in town. I live in a pretty populated town and this forest wasn't that big. As we're walking down the path, we notice there's a clearing to our right through the trees, and in the clearing is two people riding horses, dressed in clothes that look like they're from the late 1800s. This is really weird because A. How did they get horses into the clearing in the middle of town? B. Why are they riding horses in the middle of town in a forest? C. Why are they dressed like my great-great-great-great-great-great-grandparents? So I run back to the main path, telling my cousin to stay there in case they leave, and try and find a route to the clearing. I end up getting another view than my grandparents and they're not there. I can see my grandparents on the other side along with my cousin. No horses or people. They see me and give me a look that says they're still there. I'm out for them to meet me back at the main path because I'm terrified at this point. I don't know if we all were just hallucinating or if we actually saw ye old horse riding ghosts. This actually happened yesterday night, believe it or not. I'm very young, and I still live with my parents. My girlfriend sometimes stays at this house across the highway that has a huge field next to it. Sometimes, probably once or twice a week, we'll go over to the field, bring blankets, and do our own thing, whether that be simple snuggling together or sex. Well, last night, we went to the field, and it was way more silent and ominous feeling than usual. I ignored the feeling, packed my backpack with blankets, and met her in that field. We were both very tired and just wanted to hold each other, so we slept in the field in the cold, damp weather. It was nice just to be able to nibble on her ear and run my fingers through her hair again. There was eventually a time, maybe about 2 a.m., that I woke up with an empty feeling in my stomach. My girlfriend now just woke up. I dismissed the empty stomach feeling, but then I heard someone laugh very loudly in a deep, booming voice. There was then a loud gunshot noise, followed by a screeching noise that made my ears want to bleed. It sounded like a mob of people shrieking out in pain and fear. Still trembling, I then asked my girlfriend, "Did you hear that?" She replied, "No, I didn't hear anything." "What did you hear, babe?" I was astonished, since it was such an obvious thing to hear. I couldn't sleep for the rest of the night. She thought I was going insane after I explained to her, because she couldn't hear a thing. Not nearly as frightening as the other comments on here, but it gave me the chills and is still giving me the chills right now. TL, doctor, I slept in a field with my girlfriend. Heard a laugh, a gunshot, and a loud screeching noise. Girlfriend didn't hear, thinks I'm insane. The most unsettling experience of my life was when I visited Buchenwald concentration camp. Buchenwald was intended to keep people alive just enough to mine a nearby quarry for various projects. And you could tell. At first, it was a somber thing. You saw where they used to have the bunks. You saw the fencing. The gate that says to each their own, or better translated to each what he deserves, that prisoners had to walk through nearly every single day. Then you saw the zoo that was built to entertain the officers and their families maybe 100 feet from the fencing. Then the furnaces. The basement. The only way I can describe it is, during a volcano or hurricane or earthquake, there is death. After these events, life returns. During the Holocaust, there was death. Now, life never returned. Somehow the people who run these memorials managed to keep death alive and present. I will never step another foot into one of those places. I shared a story about a ghost cat before and I'm gonna copy and paste it here. My so and I had 2 cats few years ago. One of them is exceptionally playful, let's call him Fatty. If you hear things dropping in the kitchen or whatever, it's always Fatty's fault. We stayed in this apartment that didn't give us any good vibes because the minute I went in, I felt the uneasiness, but we weren't doing so well financially, so we decided to live there. One day, at about 2 a.m., we were up playing games on our laptops with our room door open. I remember very clearly that both my so and I caught a glance of Fatty running so fast past our room to another room. Both of us shouted, "Fatty, stop running around and making so much noise." I got up with the intention to see what the hell was he doing in the other room. The minute I got up, I saw Fatty on my bed with another cat. 2 of them had been chilling there for quite some time. My so and I got so fucking scared, but that's not it. I went outside my room only to see that the other room door was closed. If Fatty or whatever creature were to dash from one end towards the other room, it would have to stop or hit the door, but both my so and I saw the thing running into the room. I know this is slowly turning into a no sleep post, but the heck, it was so mysterious. Nope, it wasn't a rat, and nope, we do not stay there.